I've got some thoughts I want to share with you today. Is that okay? Do you mind? I got a comment, and when I read it, it was like, did you ever have like a thought just go through your mind? You just saw the picture. I think they called those aha moments. It was like, aha. And it happens so quickly. Well, and I loved your comment, and it's from Chad Cooper, 4033. Now, I love your comment. I am not putting it down. I really am not. So please don't take it that way. And it was a nice comment, but I got something to say about it, okay? Because when I read it, you did it for me. I thought, oh my gosh, yes. So I'm going to tell you what the yes was. And he said, hello, I don't know how you live in that van with that cold weather. You know, sometimes a lot of people say that, even sometimes I say that myself. Having bad arthritis and taking meds, it still would be horrible. I live in Southern California. Weather is shorts about 10 months, of the year. It's about 90 degrees here today. I hope you don't get sick. Thank you. I love you. I love you, Chad. Don't get sick from the cold in Flagstaff. Exactly. How about buying a tiny home and rent the spot in a nice state, maybe Florida or California? I get that, and I know that you care about me. But when you said, I don't know how you live in that van in that cold weather. Well, I hope I can get this in order, because I had, like, if you were going to do a guide diagram and the main thing was being cold in that van, the shootout would be like, well, a lot of nomads live in their van in the cold, and it's actually really healthy to be in the cold. And then I went into the mitochondria, the actual science of it all. And then I went into, oh my God. So I just went, but it happened within a second, went, and I thought, aha, I want to share this with you. Now, I did make you some tea. It's not coffee. I have found I can only drink maybe 1 cup. And you know what? I make a cup of coffee, and I really only drink like this much of it. I've got to maybe for now get a smaller cup. But this is it's called Breathing Deep. It's yogi tea, and it's from Connie at Bread and Butter. There you go, in Tucson. Thank you, Connie. Cheers. Yeah, Breathing Deep. Okay. Well, what got me was I was thinking about, first came the thought of sleeping in that cold weather in your van. At least I have a van, and what happened was my mind got transported to many, many, many years ago. And the name that came up was like, well, what about Daniel Boone? He was certainly sleeping out in the cold. Weren't they? How about the explorers? Lewis and Clark, Sacagawea, and she carried the baby in the, oh my gosh. So these are people that actually were in the cold, and they survived it. They went on to live long lives. I mean, Lewis did not live a long life, but that's because he was so depressed. Didn't he commit suicide or something later on when they made it back? Now, Clark, he was more sturdy up here. He was sturdy mentally. And he went on, oh yeah. But think about all of those people. What about, George Washington out there in the Potomac River in the freezing cold? The men didn't even have shoes on. They didn't even have uniforms. They were down to nothing. And they fought. And so I started thinking about this. Like, you know, when in our society, bear with me, I know it's kind of going, but I think you're with me. When in history has it ever been like it is now? I'm going to say never. If you can find another era that was, that had it supposedly what we call as good as we do, with all the things that can do everything for us. And if you can think of any time other than right now, this is so new in civilization history. But leave in comments if you can come up with another time. But just think about, like, I'm sitting on the hard floor, and a lot of you say, well, you would never be able to sit on the hard floor. Well, when in history have we ever had such well-built, padded furniture in our house? Our couches, our lazy boy chairs, our mattresses that now cost like $1,000 or $2,000 because they're so intricately made. Is that right? Okay, yeah. They're made greatly. Okay, yeah. So when in history has that ever happened? We have washing machines to do all of our work, of our clothes, where before we had to like go out to the river or go out, or have a pan, and we had to do them by hand and hang them on the line. We have dryers now. I mean, at least before we had horses that we'd have to take care of those horses, and we'd have to saddle them up. Now we hop in our van, hop in our car, turn on yeah. So we've got it made, don't we? We really have it made right now, and I'm coming to a point. But in that, so we've got, let me just say, I don't know if we've got it made, but we've got it pretty soft. I think this generation, the past few 3 or 4 or 5 generations, we've gotten softer with each year passing. We're so soft now. Now, let's add on now the fact that there's all this new information coming out that let's just count on America here. They're now coming out with all of these facts. They're like, the truth is coming out that the foods that they're producing for Americans here in the United States, and the food that the same people, they're producing foods for in other countries, the ingredients are totally different. They're adding on American, our government, FDA, whatever, has approved all of these toxins that can go into our foods, where the reason they can't put them in these other European countries' foods or wherever, and that includes probably, Russia and all these other places, they're not allowed. They have banned those things. We're dealing, they even said it's almost like there's like 1,000 different toxins that are going in our food that can't go in any other country because they banned it. So they're making 2 different versions of the same food. And I've seen that they're now showing, because we're sort of, with social media, we're getting a lot of information out. Well, I mean, if you saw, one of them is like oatmeal. The Quaker packets of oatmeal. I mean, the ingredients are this long for the American version, and they're like this long for other countries. Yeah. So let's just add that on. You say, well, what has it got to do with anything? Well, there's a lot to do with it. Okay. So we not only are softer, and have more luxury. I mean, even the best of us, even ones who seem to be, they're in houses or wherever, they seem to be not doing so well. They still have couches in their house. They still have beds. They still have mattresses. The homeless people, no, but yeah, we're dealing with most of the people that live in homes have it pretty darn easy, comfort-wise. Maybe not mental-wise, but comfort-wise. Now, let's add on. Now, is that healthy for us? I don't think so. Now, let's add on that we're pounding all of these chemicals and toxins into our foods. Okay? So, where's our health? And the word that came to my mind was mitochondria. Do you know what mitochondria is? Because I'm starting to see all kinds of things on social media about that. Look to the mitochondria. Can you say it with me? Mitochondria. What is it? Well, most of you know what it is. Because a lot of you have had college courses, or you've had biology in school, and you remember, or you've just been watching on social media, some of the reels, some of the shorts, and people are talking about it. The mitochondria is really the powerhouse of every cell. And I wrote this down because I wanted to be clear about this. It's very short, so don't worry. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells. And they are responsible for cellular respiration and production of most of the ATP in the cell. The ATP is what creates energy. So the mitochondria really is the powerhouse of our entire being because our cells contain our DNA. Oh yeah, and it's like there are atoms inside of it. And the atoms really, I've talked about this before. I got a train going by. Oh, do you salute trains? I don't know. Hey. Okay, I grew up with trains. I grew up with them. Okay, so the mitochondria. Yeah. Now here's what they're saying. Here's what they're saying. That the mitochondria, with our lifestyle and our foods, our toxic foods that we're eating. Let me get a drink here. Our mitochondria is getting damaged. Now, the most of it, it says here, each cell can have from 1 to thousands of mitochondria. Now, the mitochondria, the organs that have the most mitochondria would be the real powerhouse organs. That would be our brain, our muscle tissue, and our heart. Okay, so the mitochondria can get damaged. And then what happens? Well, it lingers inside the cell and they become damaged. Then what happens is the cell becomes mutated. Now we got a mutated cell ready for the old switch to be turned on. Usually, I will mention this, I'm hearing more and more about this, that sugar turns on a mutated cell to a cancerous cell. Okay, so think about that one, but that's not really where I'm going to take this discussion. But our cells can get mutated by living such a soft life, and add to that they're kind of trying to kill us with the food. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to be blunt. I usually am. I say it like it is. It's almost as if they're trying to kill us, right? Well, so I thought about this because I do know. Here's where I'm really going with that because of the cold. You all know, you've all heard about when they say, go to be healthy, go jump in the icy lake, like they do in Russia. And yeah, up in Michigan, they all do the ice plunge. So why would that be so great? Why do they want to do the ice plunge? And I remembered all of this, which comes back to being cold. I don't know how you can handle being so cold, being in that van in such cold weather. Well, it might actually be saving my life, right? I was kind of cold last night too. I mean, yeah, it is. Not only is it not comfortable, I say it's comfortable, but for you, I probably would be like, I'm not sleeping on the floor. But for me, I sleep on the sleeping bag. For me, I'm so used to it. I don't think I've ever really gone for that easy, carefree life. I seem to have gone in my journey through life. I'm 70 years old. And I've gone for the hard. So I guess the name of this video would be, you've heard this too. Excuse me, my throat. It's good to do hard things. It's good for us to do hard things. It really is. Even if it's a hard floor, it's good to do hard things. Well, I thought about that. So I looked up and I thought of the mitochondria because I'm hearing all these things about mitochondria. Because if you really, once you start damaging mitochondria, you have less energy and you're producing less energy inside of our body. Remember I talked about that energy field going out? Well, this is where, I mean, let's face it, let's say it like it is. This is where aging comes in. If we're losing the power of our mitochondria, we're aging, and some age faster than others. Some are eating less healthy than others. Some are living too soft of a life. They're sitting on their couches. Now, it does say the damage of mitochondria is they're finding responsible for major diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. Now, you did mention you have arthritis. They mentioned arthritis too. Arthritis, all kinds of Crohn's disease, all kinds of diseases come down to the very fact that our mitochondria is getting damaged too severely. Okay? So, okay. It made me think that nomads, people like myself who live in vans and we have to suffer through the cold, because it's really no more cold here than it was in Tucson this whole winter. Remember I used to do the videos like, it's so cold. I can't believe how cold it got in Tucson. You know, so, yeah. So but I have known, and it brought back to my mind that the cold is good for us. It's really good for us. It makes us hardy. Think about how we all got here. If you're alive and you're watching this, that means you're alive. I know. And you had parents that were alive, and they had parents that were alive. Now, obviously, if you're here watching this now and you're alive, that means that you made it. Your ancestors made it. They must have been hardy, right? Because if you're not, you usually will die off, and you won't have, and then your offspring might be less able to handle it either. And eventually the really weak DNA, the really weak, they will die off. But we didn't. We're here. And we didn't. So that means our ancestors were hardy. We had hardy ancestors. And I'll bet they went through the cold. They went through having to to saddle up the horses and deal with the cold and the elements and build things and work hard. I mean, yeah. But I really do wonder about this generation, these generations here. I really do wonder. And I did read about mitochondria, that because in each cell there's DNA in there, that when the mitochondria do get mutated and the cell gets mutated, it can mutate the DNA. And when the mitochondria isn't doing so well, they're finding out it can be passed on to the next generations. We need to really wake up, everybody. We really do. We need to get a little tougher. I looked up, mitochondria. Looked at the mitochondria. So I remember studying about this. I'm not a doctor, hello, but I've had a lot of, you have to go through a lot of this. I was actually pre-nursing way back. And then I realized I didn't think I wanted to be a nurse. My daughter went on to be a nurse. So I've had a lot of medical things for pre-study. Okay. So I remembered some of this, but I had to look it up. And so I looked up ways that you can stabilize and increase the health of your mitochondria. And guess what? I was right. One of the main ways that you can do, it says cold exposure is an easy way to give your mitochondria a boost. A boost. Now, it also says studies have demonstrated benefits with ice jackets, facial submission, and ice baths. Now, even that you've heard, I know all of you have heard, that what you're supposed to do after a hot shower is you turn on the cold, and for 30 seconds to a minute, it's supposed to really boost your health. Well, guess what it's boosting? Your mitochondria. It's putting some stress on there. Stress of the mind and constant stress and worry, that can hurt your mitochondria. But the physical stress and kind of stressing it out can actually boost it. It did say that extreme heat for a short period of time can actually stress it and get your boost your mitochondria. Which in so many ways, I just mentioned how many ways can that benefit us. Keep us from disease, keep our cells healthy so they don't mutate. And then a lot of times when they mutate, they don't just die and go out. They kind of float around in there. And then more will mutate and more. And that's when disease can really kick in. Okay, so what else? Let's see. Based on what I personally tolerate, you can get enough of a boost by doing the following. Okay, at the end of your daily hot shower, just turn the temperature to cold for 30 seconds. It is mostly quite invigorating, okay? Yeah. Now, there's other ways that you can boost your mitochondria. Other ways you can do it. But because of your, thank you, Chad, because Chad Cooper, because of your letter, your comment, you really made me think. You just took my mind and went, pew, yeah. And I thought, yeah. So I say hooray for Nomads for sure. Because I do believe we're pretty tough SOBs, aren't we? We can handle the cold. We are literally living in our vehicles, a lot of us, without air conditioning in the summer, which if you think about it, if you heard of a senior citizen living in a home and they had no air conditioning, why the government, you make a phone call and the government usually would be pretty close to right on it. Maybe not the next day, but everybody would get together. Oh, we got to get her air conditioning. We got to get him some air conditioning. Well, guess what? There's thousands of us out here living out here in our vehicles, some because we want to, and some a lot that because we have to, that have no air conditioning. Oh, sure, we can turn our air conditioner on for that little moment, but you can't let it run all day. We're some hardy SOBs, aren't we? And sorry about the SOBs. We're like, we're like Lewis and Clark. There we go. We're the new Daniel Boones, aren't we? Okay. So I hope this gives you some food for thought. It's good to do hard things. Why? Because your longevity, your life depends on it. If you're just going to sit and be comfy cozy on your couches, and you're going to turn on your TVs, and you're going to go out to your kitchen, make a little coffee, go back and sit down. Yeah, right. You probably go out. I mean, I know that isn't what all of you do. I don't want to insult anybody. But I know there's a lot of you out there doing that. And you may go out and putter out in the garden if you're retired and go out and putter around and things like that. Some of you are still working. A lot of us seniors out here in our vans, we still have to work. So, seriously, yeah. Start doing more hard things. Get into increasing the power, growing more, stronger mitochondria. Look to the mitochondria, okay? Okay? I know. So I'm not afraid of the cold. Don't be afraid of the cold. Go out in the cold. Go. If there's snow out there, you go out there and roll around in it a little bit. It'll be good for you. It will. It will be good for you. You got to boost yourself up. So what I'm going to recommend is that you Google how to improve the health of your mitochondria. Mitochondria. Okay? Okay. I love you guys till tomorrow. I think I've got some more news for you on BLM. There's some new regulations. Oh, yeah. And they just are taking effect. We knew they were coming, and I want to bring all that information to you tomorrow. This stuff matters. So take what I said to heart. Start looking at the ingredients in your food. Start eating more simple foods and that you can. And let's be strong, okay? I love you guys. Please subscribe. Oh, yeah. Go to minivanlee.com and go to Amazon and type on Minivan Lee for my book. Okay? I'll see you tomorrow. I love you guys. Mwah. Bye.